What's good, YouTube? We're back with another disturbed reality video. Finally, you guys seem to really like these videos, so we're just gonna keep doing them. And this one, 5 students got massacred by Sicarios, by the fucking cartel, basically. So without further ado, we're just gonna get right into it because this shit is long. And let's get it popping. If I don't commentate, what the fuck do you expect me to do, bro? He's trying to tell a story.
Welcome back.
Should I speed it up?
To Disturbed
You think so?
Reality. On Friday, the 11th of August, 2023, the city of Lagos de Moreno, located in the state of Jalisco in Mexico,
That church, or is that a church? That shit looks old as shit.
Of 5 young men who were childhood friends. On Saturday, the 12th of August, relatives of the 5 young men reported them as missing to the authorities.
5 is crazy.
These relatives later said they were discouraged by the lack of urgency displayed by law enforcement, who said they were slow to start the investigation. The victims were quickly identified as Roberto Almeida, Diego Lara, Uriel Galvan, Dante Hernandez, and Jaime Martinez. Relatives and friends of the victims became frustrated with law enforcement, so they began protesting and demonstrating, demanding that the police review the government's traffic camera footage. On
Wait,
Sunday,
so they went
13th
missing and no one gave a fuck, basically? Is that what he's trying to say?
Agents from the State Attorney's General Office and soldiers from the National Guard searched the area where the men were last seen in, the Mirador de la Santa Cruz viewpoint. The State Attorney General's office later released a public statement about their search of the area. One of the victims' brown Jetta car was later found at an unspecified location within Mirador de la Santa Cruz. The vehicle was said to contain no traces of violence or signs of robbery or struggle.
Wait.
During the late night hours of Monday, 14th of August, a photo of the
So what, they just fucking walked with the other, they just walked with whoever kidnapped them, or like,
was posted to social media.
Monday?
It's likely that it was anonymously posted in a channel on platforms like WhatsApp or Telegram. In the photo posted, all 5 victims
they all look young as shit.
kneeling on the ground in an outdoor location,
like
with
a little
red
older than
brick
high
wall
school,
in
you know
the
what I'm saying?
background. It appears to be nighttime. Each victim has duct tape over their mouths, and their hands appear to be tied behind their backs.
Jesus.
The 5 young people between the ages of 19 and 22 went to the annual fair in Lagos de Moreno, the city where they live in the state of Jalisco in western Mexico. But after a few hours, they suddenly disappeared. It said that they went to Mirador de la Santa Cruz, where they plan to meet up with a man who has not been named by police as of right now. After the image of the 5 men in captivity was released,
They look like they
a
got
few hours
beat
later,
the fuck up,
on
bro.
Monday the 14th of August, a shocking video made the rounds online, which all but confirmed the gruesome demise of the 5 young men. The Mexican authorities found 4 skulls and other charred bone remains on a nearby farm, and are investigating whether they correspond to these young people. The 5 young friends were last seen at a viewpoint where they went to hang out and play sports regularly since they were kids, which was less than 5 kilometers from the fair that they was going to attend. The police inspected the Mirador de la Santa Cruz viewpoint and found evidence of a violent struggle.
Damn.
Police found bloodstains at the scene, indicating that the men were likely attacked by surprise and jumped.
Wait, like, they just seem like regular kids. Like, did they just like kidnap them and jump them for like no reason, or is there a story behind why they think they did it? Also, where's all the cameras at? I feel like in the US we have fucking cameras everywhere, bro. Every inch of a fucking block there's cameras somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like,
police also found one of the victims' vehicles, which was found burning on the side of a highway.
damn.
The car was parked near the shopping centre Plaza Nuevo Milenio in the town of Encarnacion de Diaz in Jalisco. Firefighters had to be called to the scene to extinguish the flames before the vehicle could be searched.
Jesus.
Burnt human remains were found inside the vehicle. Law enforcement has not yet released information on just how many sets of remains were found in the car. On Wednesday night, the Jalisco prosecutor's office reported that they located a farm property that presumably corresponds to the video. Indications were found, including bloodstains and footwear, which suggested that the 5 young people were on said farm. In the property,
They went on a
police
fucking
officers
mission, bro.
found several vehicle and motorcycle license plates. When the plate numbers were run through the system, they found that the original vehicles all had theft reports from other states. Police also found cell phones, a firearm, ammo, a DVR, and a large number of baggies full of drugs, as if they were prepared for street sales. It seemed like the farm was used as some sort of cartel safe house or stash house. The case is more unusual than most cartel cases in which I've covered, as we already know a fair amount about the victims, which is very uncommon in such cases, especially relating to cartel execution videos.
Yeah, it sounds
and from the
different.
information that has been released online, no such motive for the killings have been announced, nor have any alleged ties between the victims and criminal groups. Though, more news on this may develop in the coming days, as the case is still very fresh.
When the fuck did this happen?
In various statements to the press,
Like last
the
week?
family members of the young men said that the young people were dedicated to studying or working, but in the free time they got together, they played soccer and just hung out like any other young person. Dante Cedillo Hernandez, who was 22 years old, was a passionate cyclist. He, a few years ago, won 2 gold medals in the National Olympiad competitions. He is currently a restaurant employee, but was recently about to start his own silicone business. But above all,
That's what makes no sense to me, is these guys like don't, they seem like they lived a normal life, you know what I'm saying? So why would the cartel go after them unless they were secretly doing some shit that no one knew about?
he was
You know
a
what
great
I'm saying?
cyclist. He has national and state cups, said his brother, Mauro Hernandez proudly. Diego Alberto Lara Santoyo, who was 20 years old, works as a blacksmith in his father's workshop. He's a very happy boy, very hesitant and shy, but very happy, said his mother, Susana Santoyo. Jaime Adolfo Martinez Miranda, 21, worked as a construction worker. Jaime was a very happy boy. He loved to dance. He always had us smiling at any nonsense he did. It was our joy, said his sister Anna about him. He was my little boy, my brother, the youngest, she said through tears, regretting that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
You think it was wrong place or wrong time? Or do you think it was like some shit going on?
Berto Almeida Cuellar,
Who knows,
20 years
right?
old, known by his nickname as El Cochi. Besides practicing boxing, he was studying industrial engineering at the University of Guadalajara.
That sounds fire.
He is a very athletic guy. He hardly goes out at all. He hardly drinks. He doesn't smoke, said his brother Miguel. The youngest of the group was Uriel Galvan Gonzalez, who was 19 years old. He used to frequently train with his friend Roberto in boxing. He owned a car that, according to the prosecutor's office, was found 60 meters from the San Miguel viewpoint where they were last seen, but without any trace of violence. He
This is
very
so
happy,
weird, bro.
Very friendly, a good brother, a good son. I love him, and I miss him a lot, said his father, Jaime Galvan. Due to some letters superimposed on the video, one hypothesis is that this extreme act of violence responds to the dispute in Lagos de Moreno, a strategic city for drug trafficking, between Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generacion and Cartel de Sinaloa. Journalist Laura Rodriguez, who specializes in state security issues, stated the following after the disappearance and murder of the young men. Lately, in the state of Jalisco, this phenomenon of multiple disappearances has been taking place. This case of Lagos de Moreno is the latest, one of many so far since 2022. We can say that Lagos de Moreno is the epicenter of these disappearances. They have had more disappearances than cities that have twice their population.
That is insane.
He explains that the state accumulates 14,000 cases of disappearances each year,
14,000 a year, bro,
of which have occurred in that very city. Another aspect of the case that has many deliberating is what group is exactly responsible.
And they haven't found nobody,
video.
Bro. Like,
the video itself
or is it
has
all like the cartel
text that states Puro MZ with an emoji with a cowboy hat. MZ refers to Operation MZ, or Operation Mayo Zambada, an armed wing of the Sinaloa Cartel who have been battling CJNG in various states, particularly Zacatecas.
So did they think there are other people, or they think they're part of the cartel?
Many suspect this to be misdirection and an attempt to place blame on Cartel de Sinaloa. Many actually suspect CJNG to be behind the murders due to a piece of graffiti seen in the still photo of the 5 captives. On the red brick wall behind the captives, it has an image similar to a face painted on it. According to the testimonies of some inhabitants and information shared by journalists in the region, this drawing could be a reference to the emblem used by an armed wing of the Jalisco Nueva Generación cartel. This armed wing being Grupo Elite Delictivo de Reacción Inmediata, or in English, the Immediate Reaction Criminal Elite Group, one of the most important war cells in the Los Altos de Jalisco region.
Mexico is so scary, bro. Oh my god.
CJNG is led by Hugo Gonzalo Mendoza Gaitan, also known as El Sapo or El 90. The image in which this CJNG faction promotes its criminal activities is an appropriation of a logo used by the Spanish punk rock band Los Muertos de Cristo. El Sapo is an interesting character within the CJNG organization, with many suspecting him to be an integral part of the organization, with some even suggesting him to be a potential leadership successor to the current cartel kingpin and CJNG leader, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, aka El Mencho. El Sapo is currently around 34 to 35 years old, and despite his relatively young age, is presumed to be the person in charge of controlling important areas in Mexico, such as Puerto Vallarta in the state of Jalisco. According to some media reports, he is a close ally of El Mencho and one of his...
what made Mexico turn into like this fucking war zone, bro? Like what happened back then in history where everyone just started doing all this crazy cartel shit, bro? That's like, who was the first people? Because they must have been brutal, and then everyone else from there on was
his most trusted men. It's speculated that El Sapo works together with his wife, Elania Rosas Camba, who may be responsible for managing the work of buying and selling, as well as money laundering.
Like, do these people have regular jobs too?
El
Sapo
or
what?
Is in charge of recruiting new assassins for the cartel, whom he allegedly even recruits through Facebook ads.
Like, where do they keep their money?
Through these publications and adverts, they lie to people, offer them jobs as security guards, and then turn them into hitmen or kill them if they do not accept the proposition. That may sound like a reach, and dare I say, sensationalism. However, there are legit claims to back this up. According to the El País newspaper, a survivor mentioned that El Sapo arrived in the Sierra Nevadas in Hidalgo, where they were being trained, but after the arrival of the psycho narco, everything became a massacre. He stated, "That was the worst time in all my life."
He survived that
One
shit?
day, the voice of El Sapo came in, and he said, "Go ahead, you sons of bitches. Who wants to leave? I'm going to give you 3,000 pesos and a house, and you can get the fuck out of here."
Oh, hell
And
no,
at that
he's killing
moment,
them.
some began to raise their hands. He told them that they were safe. There were multiple who raised their hands. One was a chubby one who arrived with me. He told them, "Well, let's see, arseholes. Get up and fight. Everyone against everyone." And they started fighting. The survivor also said that those who lost the battle were executed, as well as those who raised their hands, believing that they would go home. Hugo Gonzalo Mendoza Gaitan, aka El Sapo, despite his powerful standing in CJNG, has actually managed to keep a relatively low profile compared to other capos in the organisation. However, it's said that he has become a priority target of the government of the current Mexican president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. In the summer of 2022, there were reports that he had left CJNG or had even been captured by authorities, but these reports seem to have been proven false, and he is currently a free man, still
Damn.
working within the organisation.
That's crazy.
Many
How long do they
suspect
do
El
this for?
Sapo's faction
Till
of being
till
behind
they're
the
like 90?
murders. However, as of right now, that has not been categorically proven. Police do, however, suspect the murders to be connected to organised crime, and to me, it's certainly possible that it is linked to the ongoing battle between CJNG and Cartel de Sinaloa, a war that has been bubbling for several years. But nevertheless, what
I can't wait for this
happens
moment.
in the actual video? As mentioned, the video was released during the late evening of the 14th of August 2023. The video itself is 1 minute and 35 seconds in length. I have also been told that there are two versions of the video, one dubbed with music, one without music. Both contain no sounds from the actual video. However, the version dubbed by music uses the track Dancing Queen by ABBA.
Dancing Queen is
It's only
crazy.
occurred to me now, but perhaps the Dancing Queen
Nah,
song
that makes
refers
sense.
to Jaime's love of
Because he likes to
dancing,
fucking dance.
as stated by his family. The video is shot at night in an abandoned building in what appears to be a rural area.
So no one even knows why the fuck they killed
This is
him.
the farm that the police discovered. As mentioned, the video also has text superimposed over it, which says Puro MZ. As you play the video, you see that Jaime Martinez has had his hands untied by his captors, though his mouth is still gagged. He can be seen in the video beating and wailing away on his friend, Roberto Almeida. He stomps and beats him repeatedly as he lays on the ground. Despite the video containing no sound, you can still see how shaky, jittery, and
Did they fall for the fake job thing and then think they're gonna become security and fucking accidentally like sign up to be hitmen for the cartel?
apprehensive
That's
Jaime
crazy.
is in beating his friend? It's hard to tell due to the dark nature of the video and the camera angle, but it appears that Jaime is trying to avoid hitting his friend's head. After a few seconds, you see stones and rocks being thrown at the two men
Jeez,
from
bro.
sicarios standing behind the camera. It seems that they tell Jaime to pick up the rocks and hit Roberto with them. He follows the sicario's commands. He picks up the largest rock and repeatedly drops it hard on Roberto. After dropping the rock on Roberto several times, Jaime then appears to pick up a knife off the floor. He kneels down next to his friend and appears to stab him, though
Damn.
it's hard to tell. For the first time in the video, you see a sicario who wanders in shot, and he is also filming the incident. The sicario is wearing all black and his clothing contains no clues on which group he may belong to. It's also worth noting that 2 further bodies can be seen in the video.
What is that?
It's hard to ascertain how they were killed,
The fuck was
but
that?
there's a lot of blood surrounding their corpses. They appear to be the bodies of Diego Lara and Uriel Galvan. As the video continues to play, Roberto is still alive, and once again, it appears that Jaime is cutting him with a knife. At around a minute into the video, the cameraman then walks closer to get a better shot of what is going on. This confirms that Jaime is indeed killing his friend Roberto with the knife. He jams the blade into the side of Roberto's neck, which instantly causes blood to puddle on the concrete floor. Jaime doesn't appear to have much strength due to his prior beating and the apprehension, guilt, and remorse of killing his friend.
making them
He
beat
uses
each other
both
and
hands
stab
his
each other
body
and
weight
kill each other.
to drive the knife
That's
deeper
crazy.
into Roberto's neck. He pushes so hard that the razor-sharp blade comes out of the other side of his neck.
No.
He then slices in an upwards motion, which cuts through Roberto's throat. Instead of slashing the throat like a regular beheading, he stabbed through it and then pulled the blade up and sliced. Roberto is now essentially partially decapitated. Jaime then looks up at the camera for a slight second, with fear and remorse in his eyes. He then resumes to slicing away at Roberto, presumably trying to cut through the spine to behead him.
Is this kid gonna
This is
die
where the
too, or is he
video
gonna get
ends.
recruited? This kid probably
I
got
cannot begin to
recruited.
describe the cruelty
No
on display
fucking
in
way.
this video. It simply cannot be summarized.
Wait,
into
wasn't there
words.
5 of them? They said 2 was on the floor, and then this kid was killing the other kid. What happened to the 5th one? Wait,
Usually,
wait.
such cartel videos follow a very familiar trend, but this one feels different. I do wonder whether there were some serious personal issues between the killers and the victims, more so than just business, for lack of a better description. I also wonder whether these young men have refused to work for the responsible cartel,
Maybe.
which takes us back to El Sapo, who seemed to have used a similar method at the supposed CJNG training camp in Hidalgo. He made those who refused to work fight it out, before eventually killing them. It's also worth noting, a video also made the rounds on social media, where the family members were made aware of the boy's demise. The sounds of shrieking and crying of grieving family members is utterly haunting. Almost worse than any sound in the videos that I've covered for this channel. Quite frankly, this case is completely and utterly depressing. It's weird because when you have a case like this, when you know a little more about the victims, I think you try to put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, you know what I'm
try
saying?
to
It's
relate
like,
to them.
you try to figure out
And
why
I know
they
it
did
sounds
it.
really silly, but knowing that 2 of the young men were boxing fans who trained, it kind of spoke to me. I love boxing myself. I train, and you know, I'm sure these guys a couple of weeks ago were watching Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford, one of the biggest fights of the year, just like I was. And I'm sure they were looking forward to seeing their own Canelo Alvarez, of course born in Guadalajara in Jalisco. He's fighting next month. You know, he is Jalisco's representative in boxing and in sports. You know, as
That's
boxing fans,
crazy,
I'm sure
bro.
they marked that date off on their calendar.
Hey, shout out to Disturb Reality, bro, because he has probably the most informative videos on YouTube about this stuff. He really does his research. I don't know who does it for him, but he does it. I'm gonna leave a description down in the. I'm gonna leave his channel down in the description if you want to check him out. If you're still here, thank you. I fuck with you. I know it was a long video, but comment down below what you guys want me to react to next. Subscribe for new. Like this video if you enjoyed it. I'm out. Peace.